Hello. So, welcome to my podcast. And just to give out a brief of this episode, I have two very intelligent people, both IITians and people who prepped for UPSC, and then eventually could not clear the paper, but made it in life after doing MBA. तो ये बेसिकली पॉडकास्ट इज फॉर समवन हु इज लुकिंग कि अगर मेरा यूपीएससी प्रेप कर रहे हैं वो मे नॉट give out the results they want to. तो वो क्या options they can follow and how can they go about it. तो एक brief intro दोनों का. Both are civil engineers. One from IIT Roorkee, other from IIT Madras. Gold medalist from IIT Madras. उसके बाद both of them took a break and prepped for UPSC. Mohini even cleared mains 3 times, and then both of them did their MBA in business management from XLRI. And Mohini is now joining ITC, and Rutvik is working with ClearTip, which is part of the Flipkart group. We'll start at the first, मतलब तुम दोनों की जर्नी का एकदम स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, विच इज कि आईआईटी गए थे सिविल इंजीनियरिंग करने. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि क्या मतलब इट वाज अ टॉपिक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट या फिर बस आईआईटी क्लियर हो गया, सीट मिल रही है इसलिए थी. एंड देन उस फील्ड में हाउ व्हाट ऑल डिड यू डू एंड वाज इट ऑलवेज अ प्लान टू देन ज्वाइन इन यूपीएससी या फिर यू हैड अ प्लान कि वी कुड लुक इनटू जॉब्स आल्सो. तो ब्रीफ दोनों की साइड से, मे बी मोहिनी यू कैन स्टार्ट.
So, when it comes to, let's say, IIT, going for IIT, my brother, my elder brother, he was at IITM. So, naturally, like in the family, you have to follow the path. So, went to the same school, same coaching institute, and yeah, I got into IIT. So that was a brief story of how I went to IIT. But I still remember one of my friend, and I was in, let's say, 12th class, and she said that what you would be doing eventually in life, your aspiration. And my clear answer was that I would eventually prepare for UPSC. I want to join the civil services. So I think this was something which was always at the back of my mind, that in the future, how I see myself working, that is through, let's say, joining the civil services, working with people, working for the people. So this was how I got inclined towards UPSC. It was like from the childhood itself.
सीधा स्कूल से ही मतलब डायरेक्टली प्लान था कि यूपीएससी करना है.
Yeah.
तो आईआईटी वाज ओनली अ स्टेप फॉर यू.
Yes. So I come from a very, let's say, tier 2, tier 3 city. And there I just felt that, let's say, if you are able to crack this exam, you will get a lot of freedom and independence to choose whatever stream you want to. Otherwise, it would have been really difficult if I would have stayed in Meerut. The level of exposure here, it would be quite low. That's why.
And ऋत्विक आपका.
Case, I think it was not so straightforward. I never had key starting say I want to be in UPSC. It over time developed. So first tha ki parents, engineering, that standard stereotypical thing that I won't deny. That's for there. Tried Olympiads here and there. Over time developed interest in all fields, PCMB, sab kuch, right? So all of that came over time. And then IIT happened. I mean, civil engineering was not the first choice, as I think is for most of the country here over. But I think over time, no, as in when you go into civil, the curriculum, it teaches you about major personalities. It teaches about how civil engineers used to be the rulers of the world at one time, right? As in used to be very popular, used to be very high in administrative capacity, but over time it changed and all, right? So hearing through anecdotes, I realized, okay, there is something called as civils. Over time, tried to research ki kya hai, what is the scene in India. But certain things that I felt, okay, it is something that aligns with my vision in the longer run. And there is always a demand of technocrats nowadays, right? So coming from an IIT, people motivated me and many of my friends that given that you're a technocrat and technology is the future, right? So I think that is something you should take. You should think that is a viable career option and you should at least try for it. Right, so that is where my interest started, and thoda sa from that I started, okay, what is this, what all is there, what goes. I know that there is a lot of effort in this, but anyway, I took it up as a challenge, and I think from there only it started over time, right? So interest developed, started reading, discovering, got lost in the books, content and everything, right? So over time it developed. It was a very slow, gradual process. To be honest, it was a decision that I made on my own, right? No one told me that you should do it. There was no parental pressure. There was no pressure from any elder or anyone, right? Very different journey.
तो which brings me to a very interesting point जो आपने बोला अभी कि प्रेशर कहीं से नहीं था टू डू यूपीएससी, बट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल स्पेशली IITians को तो प्रेशर होता है कि भाई हाई पेइंग जॉब लैंड अप करनी है, बहुत तुमने इतना पढ़ाई करी है, इतना अच्छा प्रेस्टिजियस कॉलेज में पढ़ते हो, एंड स्पेशली यू बीइंग अ गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट, IIT मद्रास का गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट होना इज नॉट अ इजी थिंग. तो कहीं से प्रेशर नहीं था कि यू पिक अप अ जॉब, एंड उसको कैसे हैंडल किया?
There was some pressure, as in I won't deny that also again. But again, I was more inclined towards something in research, right? I thought myself that maybe I would be better in a research career, wherein I go and explore things. I try to, uncover something and make a discovery that will be there for long in the world. So I think that small monuments is how you leave your mark. So that is something that I wanted ideally. I mean, life took a different turn. Thought that maybe there was some element of COVID also, that it was vindicated maybe that due to COVID that it was not a great decision to go abroad at that point of time. So somewhere that thing was also there in the mind, as in maybe there is some element of uncertainty. There were some geopolitical issues also upcoming at that time, right? So I thought maybe UPSC is a great deal. And anyway, I was in the preparation phase, right? So at the last year, there were only two paths for me: either go into a research career or go into some sort of a UPSC civil service prep. Right? So I chose the later one, given that the interest developed, and over time I explored, and I felt that that is more interesting. That is something that I would like to do, right? That one single line question is what I was looking answer to. What I would like to do maybe for 15, 20 years or entire of my working career. So that is where I got the answer at that point of time.
नाइस. सो ऑल्सो
There
जो
is
जो
also, I
हाँ
would
हाँ
like
go
to
ahead.
highlight when it comes to, let's say, placement, generally a very rosy picture is painted when it comes to, let's say, IITs. So, let's say branches like mechanical,
Especially civil.
civil engineering, or in fact the other branches as well, the things are not that great. So, when you look at the option that either you can prepare for UPSC, otherwise you can, let's say, land up with a job, a decent paying job, but not that great, maybe 10 to 15 lakhs kind of a job. So you always feel that it's better to take some risk, go for the preparation, and maybe down the line, if things don't work out, you can join the corporate. So that is something which always is at the back of our mind as well.
एक और अप्रोच सम पीपल टेक इज कि मतलब समवन जो मेरे यहाँ मेरे कॉलेज में थे, प्राइवेट कॉलेजेस में, दे थॉट कि मे बी वी वोंट हैव सम गुड अपॉर्चुनिटीज डाउन द लाइन, तो लेट्स टेक अप अ जॉब ऑन द कैंपस अभी, एंड देन लेट्स फिगर आउट कि यूपीएससी का प्रेप कैसे कर सकते हैं. तो इन हाइंडसाइट ऑफ बोथ ऑफ यू, व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड योर प्रेप स्ट्रेट आउट ऑफ कॉलेज, वुड यू रिकमेंड समवन टू फर्स्ट टेक अप अ जॉब, लर्न सम प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स, और मतलब it's a better approach to directly start out of college with a prep for UPSC first?
Think it
Correct.
depends on the person, the level of like the risk taking appetite you have. If let's say you want to first secure your career and then take the risk down the line, so in fact sometimes it will become more riskier for you. Let's say after graduating you have worked for, let's say, 2 years, and after that you started your preparation. Generally people tend to give at least 3 to 4 attempts before further exploring option, because the preparation itself, it takes a lot of time. For the initial 2 years you have to basically read a lot, understand everything, and at least you need to give at least 1 or 2 trials. I would say like you giving UPSC is more like kind of a trial and error, where you clear prelims, then go to mains, then to interview. So you might be like prepared 90 to 95%, still there is an element of luck always. So, yes, after preparing for 2 years, you need to give at least 2 fair attempts for yourself. So, by then, it's like you would be 26, 27, and then it would become very difficult to enter the workforce. But if you have taken the similar risk in the, let's say, just after when you are 22 and you have just graduated, things would become much more simpler for you, like going for further studies if in case UPSC result does not turn out in your favor.
Sounds logical.
So that might become easier.
Case research was the other option that I had in mind, right, at that point of time. So for research, ideally, if you have to go very early, and you can't prep for UPSC. It doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense. So if you're looking for job, then I think for freshers, if they think that they're well prepared enough, again, as Mohini said, I think it depends on the time frame and the comfort that they have with the basics. And it's true that initially you have to take coaching or maybe go through a structured preparation plan so that you at least stand a chance to at least be in the 99.9 percentile, which will help you clear prelims, and then you go talk about something else, right? So in that first attempt, I think somewhere it's the first attempt that is the best, I believe always, that whenever you're prepared, your confidence is high, your enthusiasm is high, right? So if you think that you need to take a year, do take a year, but it's only a personal decision, I think. And it's again a function of where you want to be in life, right? As in, what is your backup option? Is it an MBA? Is it a job? Or is it something higher education? Or is it maybe owning your own business? Depending on that, it gives you different angles of flexibility. So that also is quite important.
Also, एक point मतलब a lot of people discuss this also कि when you are in your undergraduate, you have a flow of studying, you have a habit of reading, you have a habit of sitting down on your table with books. But once you join an office, you have a very different habitual route. So it's better if you continue that flow while directly out of college, you can start with a prep. But then coming down to your personal journeys, how did both of you start your prep and what resources did you use? Kaise did you prep? And after that, at what point did you think that I can maybe evaluate other opportunities? Maybe मतलब क्या job, MBA? We'll deep dive into that later. But how did you prep and how did you come to decide कि maybe now it's time to check other options?
Let's say in my case, my preparation was more gradual. It was more exploratory in nature. So I started preparing gradually. And I used to first read the core books. Let's say Lakshmikant, Rajiv Vahir, G.C. Leong. And eventually I started reading newspaper, building on the current affairs based on, let's say, the coaching institute magazines. The resources itself, I think down the line we need to, let's say first you have done the exploratory part of it. You have gained a thorough knowledge. After that, we have to cut down our resources and limit ourselves and revise them more. So eventually, I think what worked in my favor, whether it's clearing prelims and going to the main stage, was eventually confining my resources to and making crisp notes out of it. So also, let's say in exam, we have to basically write 2 or 3 pages in just a matter of 8 to 11 minutes. So everything needs to be in your mind. It should be very crystal clear, whatever you are writing. So for that, you need multiple revision. So when you, after reading a lot, when you limit your resources eventually, it becomes very easily to replicate that in the exam.
So did you like do all the self खुद से सब पढ़ाई करी थी or do you take a coaching or sorts?
Yes. So I would say it was more of a hybrid kind of a thing where I read the basic books on my own, but when it comes to, let's say, value addition, so for that I joined some coaching institutes for basically helping me with the value added material, that this might be the fact, the data, or this might be the case study for a particular topic, the social issue itself. So these kinds of things. Along with that, I joined coaching institute for test series to practice answer writing. So that way, those institutes, they were very helpful.
For me, it was as I said, no, it was a bit late in my student career that I started of thinking all of this, right? So I did not have the time to scale up. So I resorted to taking online coaching, as in to ensure that I get some structure, to get some understanding of what the exam is, talk with experienced faculty, get the structured plan, right? So that is where I started. Before that, obviously, there was some habit building exercise that I did, maybe to have that habit of sitting in a stretch, focus, and ensuring that your attention span does not go down with time, right? What are the topics that are interesting to you? And if there are any topics that are not interesting, how to try to develop interest in that. So that is a skill that I think is in the longer run quite beneficial. So that I think was something that I worked on before even joining the coaching, very early days, right? And then maybe reading the newspaper, right? Trying to derive. Initially, I was very bad at it. I didn't know what to read, what not to read. But I think over time I developed, okay, this makes sense, this does not make sense. All of it coming from evaluation of past papers, right? What was there? What was the type of questions that were asked? How is it relevant, right? What type of newspapers are giving me? So based on that, selective reading, right? So that is what I developed, and I think coaching classes helped me refine that over time. And as Mohini also said, it's quite important to have value addition from coaching classes, right? So totally true. As in what you can gain maybe by doing self reading, or it will take some time for you if you're a beginner especially. But coaching classes have that strong material, strong research coaching network also that will help you bring out those materials quickly, develop your upskill very quickly, right? So that you know what is there, what is not there. Try to get current affairs of multiple years, which are quite important, right? Nowadays, given the paper pattern and all is changing. So it's no more like 1 year ka syllabus is something that is relevant. So that is what I think coaching classes help you to build. Apart from that, it's all your self-study. I mean, it's all about what you take liking towards, how do you be consistent every day in and day out without maybe facing difficulties or maybe overcoming difficulties, let's say low mock scores, having a very bad day, right? And number of situations, or even something that at the house that can trouble you, right? Small domestic situations, anything. So how do you overcome all of that? Because you're supposed to be entirely focused on that if you're taking a gap year, and then there is nothing to pay out, right? If it does not work out, you are like either 1 or 0. So that's the biggest risk. Again, just bringing it up because I think that is quite essential going forward. It's either 0 on one game, but I think you have to make sense with the 0 also and try to see if you can level up to 1, right? I think that is where I always used to ask my question, right? Whether should I take the next attempt or not? Should I quit, do something else? Because I think if I'm going to be not able to bring up to that one, if I only don't have the confidence, then it's quite difficult for me to achieve, right? I mean, there can be external motivation, but internally it has to come from your own self. So that is where I think I got the answer whether I should continue or not continue. So when I got the answer that maybe it was not possible to scale up to 1, that is when I thought let's not maybe spend too much time. I think I have given sincere attempts and let's see what else can be done. So then let's see what else can be done led me to different paths, right?
Nice. And तो ये तो was Rutvik का point of view कि when he thought कि he cannot scale up to 1, then he thought कि अब maybe we look into other options. Mohini, I remember seeing somewhere, so किसी तो social media platform पे I saw your post कि you just randomly ended up giving that and not really having prepped for it. So how did you come up with कि हाँ let's switch streams now, let's move on from UPSC prep and then go into like MBA?
So, for the initial 2 attempts, generally the confidence is quite high that you can prepare and give the exams. But after the second attempt, it becomes really difficult to continue. So, I decided, okay, I will give the third attempt, and this is going to be the last attempt which I give, and this is going to be the fair shot. So in March, the result came, and I was not in the interview list. And then I decided that I am going to quit this preparation and eventually pursue something else. I started looking for other opportunity, but the next prelims was in the next 2 months. So I just decided, okay, let's give the final attempt, the fourth attempt, and then I will figure out. So in December, the result came, and eventually, again, the same thing happened. I was not able to qualify for the interview. So then it's just like my brother, he's alum of IIM Ahmedabad, and he was very serious that I should pursue my MBA now. So he has filled the ZAT form for me. I was still not looking to pursue my MBA till then, even though I was looking for other opportunities, but I was not like ready to prepare for another exam again, because it's UPSC takes a lot from you. You have to give 100%. You need to like prepare a lot, and then again preparing for one more exam, it's really difficult. So I was not in for it, but still, I just went to give the exam in January, and luckily it turned out favorably for me. And I think that is because of my UPSC preparation only. Because the comprehension, the verbal ability, it came very naturally. When you are reading a lot, you are reading newspapers every day, you have already read tons of books. So that is something, sometimes exams like Z or CAT, it becomes easier for you after preparing for UPSC. On 6th December, my result came, and for the next 10 days, I was just bracing myself that I have to prepare for the CAT exam next year. Along with that, I was looking for job opportunities, because after a gap of 3 to 4 years, you need to have something on your CV, some credible work ex to show. So I was also giving interviews for jobs as well. And if I speak the truth, I was not getting any good offers. Very low paying job, because like either you need to have a very good work ex, or you should, if even if you come from a very good college, you should start from there itself. You should have taken the campus placement. In that particular job scenario, 2 years down the line, it was very difficult to find a job. So yeah, along with that, I bought the CAT books, and it was very difficult for me to basically practice that data interpretation along with that quantitative, because in UPSC you would be reading about humanities, and after 4 years practicing those quantitative aptitude was kind of very difficult. But I think the ZAT paper in itself, it helped me, because about 60 to 70% of it is mostly decision making and verbal ability. And this is something which UPSC aspirants, they are really good at. Because let's say even when it comes to comprehension, many of them, they were associated with socialism, capitalism, and a few of the paragraphs, they were associated with psychology. They were talking about something like metaphysics. So these kind of things you have already read in somewhere in the UPSC preparation, and it becomes very easy to mark the correct answer eventually. So yeah, when it comes to preparation, sorry, I have not prepared much for CAT or ZAT, but UPSC prep helped me a lot.
So Rutvik, did you like prepare properly for CAT or ZET, and how was your journey like?
Okay, so I won't say that I prepared properly, but I had like 1 month after the second attempt where I decided I should move on. And then at that time, I was like, should I look for a job or should I? Three options again: look for a job, go back to where I was like maybe 3 years back, and then go for research because I had good credentials, or look for something that is similar to UPSC. I won't say that very similar, but something that my skills will be complementary at, right? So can make a difference. So MBA was one of those answers, right? Maybe something a master's in public policy, right? Also could be an answer, but again, MBA prevails over those multiple options because there was some exposure. There were some friends to guide me. Maybe it was just because there was a familiarity with the concept compared to something, maybe an alternative course, right? That I could pursue and maybe make a career, right? So at that point of time, evaluated and found that maybe, okay, research is good option, still a good option, might have got certain schools, but do I want to do it? I mean, do I have the vigor right now? Try to connect with professors, try to connect with research scholars, see if I still have the acumen. The answer was no at that point. Could not convince myself, right? So at that point, I think instead of looking for a job opportunity, I thought, okay, there is an exam called as ZAT, which is also quite popular. I knew that there is ZAT. That is a good exam that you can give and get into a good B school. One of the top target schools for me, even maybe 3-4 years back, right? So if I had to target. So basically that is how I got inspired to, okay, try out SAT. Just looked at the paper, and as Mohini also rightly pointed, there were a few things that I discovered could help me complement along with my UPSC prep, right? The comprehensions, I think that's the main part where, I mean, that's like an Achilles heel for quite engineers, right? As such in the room.
Yes.
So I think that is where UPSC aspirants will succeed because again, lot of philosophical passages, lot of ethical passages, a lot of sociological, lot of political passages are there, right? Which I think that is quite heavy on. So those passages are like you enjoy them, and then answering those questions are not like you have to think, oh, what is the answer? Try multiple techniques. It does not come into your mind. It just like, okay, I understood the passage, these are the options, this is what may be one of the two. So you come there. You don't need to go and eliminate, which I think many B school aspirants try to do. That is something that is naturally skipped in an UPSC aspirant's mind if he has prepared well, if he has read a lot of passages, right? So that thing becomes quite easy, and again, decision making is somewhat relevant, somewhat familiar also because there is a ethics paper that is also there, right? So somewhere, although the nature is quite different, but somewhere it is relevant, and that helps to make decision. That helps to clear out your mind, and that also helps a lot. And math is not up to the level of maybe CAT, or maybe it's not as difficult as CAT. So I think UPSC aspirants won't be finding that issue also because they give paper of CSAT, and now CSAT has upgraded massively. So I think that also people are still aware how to crunch out numbers, how to develop that speed, right? Which I think will save a lot of time here, and maybe you can focus more on passage or somewhere else or decision making. And I think one good thing about ZAT versus CAT, I think in my mind personally when I started prep, although I could not give CAT, but if I were to give CAT, I think I would have not done so well because CAT is like you do X amount of questions X time, and if you are not able to do, you shift the session. You need to shift the mindset. Here in ZAT, there is ultimate flexibility, right? So for a new aspirant, it is quite friendly exam, and I think that is something that a UPSC aspirant will quite vibrate with as such, right? Compared to CAT, which is like a time test where this is like a test match, right? You choose your battles, you play your deliveries, right? You maybe hit for sixes, you maybe hit some dots, but overall you win. That is how you try to conquer the ZAT paper, right? So I think that is something that was interesting to me, and I think I developed a lot of fun in solving questions. And over time, it was like, oh, nice, ये तो बहुत time से कर रहा हूँ. So that feeling came in maybe 1 month, and I'm lucky that it panned out somehow. There's some luck involved also, but I think it's a risk I took, and there were rewards for it.
A completely new insights that I got, like कि यूपीएससी वाला बंदा ऑब्वियसली VA RC तो अच्छे से करेगा, बट हाँ ऑल्सो यू गाइस मस्ट हैव नेल्ड द जीके सेक्शन इन ज़ैट का पेपर. आई हैव फुल कॉन्फिडेंस इन बोथ ऑफ यू, बट
Did not
हाँ
study
इन
only, I guess. I didn't study for it. It came naturally. हो गया मतलब.
मैं तो रोज
Same
न्यूज़पेपर
was, I
पढ़ता था
guess.
एंड स्टिल डिडंट स्कोर दैट वेल, बट हाँ after that in our both batches 24 and 25 we didn't have a GDPI round as such, which is now prominent in that, but usme also I believe UPSC would help in massively because you guys prepare for interviews so much and you have varied thought on different topics and number of topics you prepare for. But then coming to the interview process, so मतलब लोगों के दिमाग में रहता है यार कि मैं कैसे जस्टिफाई करूंगा दैट आई हैड अ ब्रेक इन द इंटरव्यूज. सो हाउ डिड यू गाइज प्लान फॉर इट एंड हाउ डिड यू गाइज जस्टिफाई कि इट्स ओके टू टेक अ ब्रेक इन फॉर यूपीएससी प्रेप एंड देन वी आर शिफ्टिंग टू एमबीए.
Ritvik, you want to go ahead with it?
So my case was, as in, it was a logical steps that I had. तो मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा easy था because I was thinking logically at every step. As in, for instance, why this, why that, why this, why that. So all this was running. तो जब मैं पेपर पे लिखने गया, as in before the ZAT interview or the XLR interview, I was like, क्या बोलूँ इनके सामने? I was obviously nervous, but at least I thought कि अच्छा मैंने इस time पे ये सोचा था. So I had some rationale of putting the decision. So only thing left was to put it down in pen and paper. And paper only for position, whatever, right? So that is not the impression that you want to give. Apart from that, I think it's a journey that you need to explain. Although it is quite topsy-turvy. I mean, I used to be worried that first BTech किया, फिर MTech किया, then you took a gap, then again you are coming for an MBA, right? So it's a very topsy-turvy journey. There are a lot of ifs, right? So there are a lot of transitions. So हर एक transition पे I think whoever is preparing, whoever has gaps should have their own answers, right? Now what are those answers? It can be a personal reason. It can be why you wanted something. Why do you think your interest or your personality as such will align with it, right? So those type of answers is what interviewers are looking for. And as long as you're clear, it's fine because there's no right or wrong answer as such, right? Each journey is unique, as in each person has their own reasons, but it should not be for some small materialistic reason. That's all. As in that materialism should not come out. It should be for a larger goal, for a greater good, right? As XLRS principle is there. So align with those principles, right? So that is how I tried to put it down and come up with an answer.
It's all about like justifying the reason that why you are going for MBA. If you are able to do that, then it's good. And if let's say if you are working on a particular job at that moment when you are giving the interview, if you are able to just tell what was the purpose behind UPSC and it's aligning with your job role, and along with that, how will you use that in the MBA journey? If you are able to justify that, then no one would question that why did you went for so many of the appeals.
Great. Now coming to when you enter MBA college, first thing everyone puts pressure on you is कि CV बनाना है, CV बनाना है, CV बनाना है. And who better to ask this question than to Rutvik? अगर if anyone from our batch, me and Moini's batch is watching, तो everyone knows how we can say master of that stream is Rutvik. He has helped like countless people in making their CV. So a person who has taken break to prep for UPSC straight out of engineering and then has come to MBA, how can they go about by making their CV and ensuring that it is at a similar level with other people who have work ex? So yeah, Rutvik, please.
So I think that logic is about the main question. So from there, I think the story started for me. So what else? Should I do research? Should I do maybe some job? Should I look for coding? Should I maybe enter management? Should I maybe go for civil services? So these were the all options, right? The whole entire set. So in the bid to explore that set, I took multiple things. So because of that, I think there was a good impact of having proper pointers, right? As such, right? Apart from the academic pointers, maybe explore a bit of philosophy, explore a bit of management, explore a bit of maybe leadership skills, right? So all of that. There are multiple buckets that if someone is building, I mean, don't try to exactly build a CV, but at least explore, right? So because you get to know whether you want to do an MBA, whether you want to go for something else, right? I think that is what matters. And then CV, I think, is a secondary part, right? It's all about framing. I think it's all about framing, positioning your points. But first, you should have a point, right? As in, for those pointers, you should work in multiple areas, right? People often try to focus on acads or People often be like, okay, I want to go into research only. Then they neglect everything and go into that. That's a very wrong strategy. It might not pay off if you are in a career, let's say where CV matters. That time you might be messed up because you don't have anything to show apart from research, and that might not be valued appropriately. So it's like creating those pointers, creating those buckets that I think helps you. In the shorter run, I think it's more about developing your skills. It's about you can't do much in short run given that you are entering MBA, but once you enter the MBA stream, a lot of opportunities you can look for to build your CV in the first year and second year. I think second year tak aapka CV will be sorted, but first year में it's all about what you have done in the past. So nothing much you can do. Maybe some pre-MBA competitions or pre-MBA, lot of engagements are there by companies, so get into that, right? Like how we both were part of HUL, right? So something like that, something on those lines. Nowadays, lot of FMCGs companies are coming up with those plans, so that can be one option. Trying up certain, maybe taking up a job, an internship, right? Many people do pre-MBA internships, so those sort of things will help you, but those are like cosmetic solutions, as in those will help you, but not in the longer run. But again, it's better to go with something than nothing, because everyone at XLRI or any B school will be a XLRI or a B school student. So you have to be differentiated. So how you differentiate? You create n number of things. If you're looking for MBA, n number of things is what I would suggest, right? That was what I think nobody told me, but since I can reach out to the better audience, I think that is something that I would like to advise, right, through this forum.
सेंस तो आपका तो वॉज वेरीड एक वेरीड बैकग्राउंड में आप क्योंकि यू वर प्रेपिंग फॉर डिफरेंट करियर ऑप्शंस यू वर थिंकिंग एटलीस्ट ऑफ डिफरेंट करियर ऑप्शंस ड्यूरिंग योर अंडरग्रेड इटसेल्फ मोहिनी ऑन द अदर हैंड हैड अ वेरी फोकस्ड अप्रोच की यूपीएससी प्रेप करना है एंड so how did you go about by framing your CV and then also how did you go about by breaking the myth कि ये FMCG companies don't take up people who have career breaks or generally take up freshers only because for some context Moini interned with PNG and is finally going to IIT both FMCG companies and she had converted both of them. So how did you prepare your CV and how did you go about by prepping for these companies?
So I think here I would give credit to my brother in, let's say, December, when it was in January, when it was decided that I might be going to Accelerate and I would be pursuing my MBA. So my brother, I had two job offers then, and one was regarding basically a data analyst kind of a job, and second was a job in a startup, and that was associated with sustainability. I was working for sustainability in FMCGs. So he knew that eventually I would be working for only 4 or 5 months. So eventually I chose to join that particular startup itself. And I think somewhere that startup played a very important role, whether it's getting into Unilever Change Maker or eventually going to PNG and eventually in ITC, getting a job in ITC, because all my interview, everything was centered around that particular CG. So that is something which I think it worked in my favor eventually, even though it was just a 4 month of work ex. So I would say, let's say, if you are focused that eventually you are going for MBA, I feel that you need to get your CV sorted. You need to see whether you will get any consult shortlist or not, because most of the consulting firms, they generally don't prefer gap years. And this is my brother. He is also working in a consultancy firm, and he knew that very well. So he was very sure that it would be very difficult for me to get any calls from there, interview calls from there. So and he knew that generally FMCGs prefer freshers. So 4 months of work ex is generally more of a fresher only. So I got the relevant work ex for them. If let's say you are good with writing blogs or basically making YouTube channels. There were many people in PNG who interned with me and they were having a number of followers and they were interning in the brands. So if you can just develop a channel for the next 4 5 months before entering your MBA and can have good CV points, that will get you a marketing intern and make your profile along according to that particular role. Same is with respect to, let's say, if someone has worked from engineering background, someone has got a job associated with operations just after engineering. Maybe he's a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer, and eventually he prepared for UPSC, and then he is going for MBA. Again, what he can do is basically try to get his CV aligned to that particular operations role, then it would help him to get the right job, because you would be the best in the profile you are interviewing for. So this is something, because MBA, everyone would be having a great profile, and the companies, they are looking for profile alignment. If they are working in a particular direction and they see a credible work ex related to that particular role, they will hire you.
Sounds great. But I just now realized that you have cracked the holy trinity of FMCG, HUL, PNG, ITC. तीनों में you have nailed something. But हाँ, great to know that. Which brings us down कि when you both got into internships. So internship, from personal experience as well, is the most hectic and tiring process during MBA. And there's a lot of competition in between people, matlab interns as well as from other colleges. So you guys being freshers, not having a lot of work ex compared to other people who may have 2 years, 3 years of work ex. How did you navigate through your internships, and any tips or tricks that you use so that you get in at least at par with other people who have work ex in somewhat related fields? Tech.
Okay,
Ritwik, go ahead.
cool. So if you look at my experience, right? So I was interning at Bain. So basically, again, a very cutthroat sort of an environment. Lot of competition, as Ayush, you are rightly pointing it out. So obviously, coming from an UPSC background was disadvantaged, but I think there was some element of good fortune also involved here, that my very first assigned project was something that I found that I could relate with UPSC, right? So that helped me get into the comfort zone, because I think it's the first project or the first interaction, the very few first 2-3 weeks that will set the tone for rest of your internships. So there it is, that crunch period where you need to show that you are worth it, because I think first impression matters a lot. Right, so I think that first impression, if you are able to set in the minds of the guide, then I think your life becomes easy, right? Even if PPO, no PPO, but at least you have a good network that is built here in that organization that can help you out later, right? So I think that is what was there in my mind. So again, I tried to evaluate that, okay, the other competitors, what they have, right? What exactly are the elements that they know, right? People with work ex. So there are a few things like analytics, Excel, right? Those things are something that you can learn. There are some elements that you can learn, but again, you might not be able to become very proficient at that. So there is always going to be a disadvantage. I won't deny it, but there is something that you can learn, and you can keep that developing attitude, like how UPSC ke time you used to do. During UPSC, you used to learn every day. You used to keep on working hard. It is irrespective of whether you don't know, right? Whether you'll get a result or not a result, right? What can be anything. So it's high uncertainty. Certainty element is what matters, right? So I think it's because maybe for many people, right? For even someone like me, going into a fresher, going as a fresher, going into an intimidating work environment, stressful times, right? So that time it's, I think, apart from the learnable, transferable skills, it's also the environmental or the ability to pick up skills, right? Or the ability to be resilient as such. And I think that resilience is coming from UPSC, right? So you try to give in your best. Whatever be the result, PPO, no PPO, you try to give in the best. You try to develop some impact to get the CV points, right? You try to get networks. You try to develop good connections with people. You try to get the best. You try to learn the most, right? So that is what internships are for. Because that's like a mini, like a job only, right? But maybe not that accountability of a job, but it's like a job, just an exposure. Then I think, and it is also quite important, I went with an open mindset. That is consulting right for me or not, right? So that question is what I wanted to get answer to. So I think with that opportunity, everyone should go and see if that field is where they want to be, whichever company, however it is. But I think it's a learning opportunity, and first of all, it is very different compared to UPSC. So anything different, I think I was naturally motivated to do. So I took it up as a challenge. I know it will be difficult. I know I am at a disadvantage. I'll have to work 2 times harder than the people who are coming from maybe financial background or working as CAs, right? CAs of the world, wherever, right? Good at Excel, good at analytical skills, good at presentations, whatnot. So it's like learning from them, not maybe competing with them at certain level. If there is a co-intern, you learn with them, not like you go and try to bring them down or get yourself pulled down. You learn with them, you develop, right? So with co-interns, I think whoever is working with your project, if it is a consulting, I think you'll work with people whenever you are assigned to certain projects. So that time I think it's quite important that you learn from them, you pick up skills, and I think that helped me a lot to improve on my Excel as well as presentation skills, which helped me later and is still helping me. Like I do reap dividends out of it. I think it's because of that attitude that I developed, right? So that coming from UPSC, somewhere there is a link. I feel there is a strong link that helped me get the best out of the internship, whatever I could. So that is all about my experience as such.
Moini, yours.
So There were two aspects. First was like getting the internship itself. So in the initial 3 months, I think Rutvik knows that better. I was really miserable before getting internship because I was not getting any shortlist. My CV, as I said, my CV was quite marketing focused, and initially we generally get the consult shortlist. So I just felt like whether I am having too many gap years or there is something wrong with my CV. And I think PNG was the first shortlist which I got. I think there was just one more interview call that was from a finance firm, which I was not that much inclined to go. So yeah, this was the first CV interview call which I got. So that particular moment where you just feel that first of all things don't work out in your favor in the UPSC prep, and after that you are in a completely different atmosphere where people they are very competitive, their profiles they are very good, and then the kind of curriculum in the MBA itself, it's also very hectic. So you are going through these emotions every day. You are attending classes day after day. Like, let's say 2 3 months down the line, you were thinking that this might be my last attempt, and eventually I would even go to maybe Labasna, and yeah, and this study part would be over. But now a different kind of studies are there, and the submissions are there. So that comes with a load. Along with that, you are making a CV which is not getting you any shortlists. So that is something many a times I used to have breakdowns then. But yeah, after getting a good internship, gives you a kind of a peace of mind that yes, you have done something, you have achieved something in life. Your life is, let's say, falling into place where you want to be. And this is something which really helped me down the line in the first year. And when I went to the internship, I was quite motivated and I just want to work there, whatever project was given. My project, it was very data heavy. And there I just felt that I have learned humanities for the last 4 years and being pushed into data, a lot of Excel. So a lot of number crunching was required, and where I have to work on models. That was entirely different learning experience, and I learned a lot there. But yes, compared to other people who have come from the finance background, who have worked in the corporate for long, they were able to do those things much more easily because they have a kind of a command. Let's say in the next 2 months, I was able to work on the Excel very smoothly and all, but they were working that way from the very first day. So there is a kind of a learning curve. I have to learn for the initial 2 months, then I was able to work properly. So that is something a kind of a challenge. You feel a lot of competition when you go to the corporate, but this is also a part of learning where you just try to eventually whenever you get free time you try to become corporate ready, that whenever let's say you are going to corporate, you are going to have all those skills which are required eventually.
Yeah. So, I would say in hindsight, even I think you guys would recommend if anyone has finalized now that they are going for an MBA and may end up in different career streams, they can take up some sort of practice of at least Excel, because Excel is something that is used across consulting and FMCG as well. So I know that it won't be able to make up for a practical experience, but yeah, it would still give you a boost when you land up with an internship. Now coming,
Actually,
huh?
learning Excel, it takes only 10 to 15 days. But when you go to the internship itself, the first impression is kind of the last impression. So if you already know those skills, that would really help you.
Definitely. So coming to next thing, like UPSC prep में तो सब कुछ पढ़ा होता है. You have covered in everything, every field. Not numbers exactly, but हाँ, a lot of different fields. So how did that help out in your MBA का studies? Like I know subjects like public policy. So obviously there was subject in there's a subject in Excel called public policy. So obviously I know that you guys nailed that subject. But other than that, also Moini was a DML there. Rutik also had a very nice. So how did your UPSC prep help you during the MBA studies as well?
DM.
I think it was kind of easy when it comes to giving exams of MBA because you need not prepare much. Most of the courses, like we have mass communication, eventually, we have courses like sustainability, public policy, we have microeconomics, macroeconomics. Both of these topics we have learned in UPSC. And apart from that, if you are, let's say, taking marketing or strategy as your specialization, this is something which would kind of come naturally to you because you have learned a lot of concepts already when it comes to, let's say, you are learning something regarding international affairs, or you have been reading newspapers a lot, so you know about companies, you know about market, how, let's say, in consumer behavior itself there are often very interesting insights regarding the rural consumption, how it's increasing. So this is something which you already know, that how rural India behaves, what is the pattern of women shopping, male shopping, and what are the cultural aspects associated to it. This is you have already learned in when you read Indian society and culture. So these kind of things eventually come very naturally. You are able to replicate that in the exam itself. Also, in UPSC prep, we used to solve case studies as well, long case studies in ethics. So when it comes to solving case studies related to marketing or strategy, we know the kind of pattern that we first need to collect data, and then we need to first then identify the stakeholders, identify the issue, then move on further. So these kind of things, it's like you put in less effort and you get more results there.
I
Definitely.
think my experience was a bit different, as in for me, UPSC thing helped me in maybe three, four things. First is in classes to understand things better and maybe come up with something interesting that maybe other people might not think of, right? So maybe it's quality, I don't know, quality CP that you do, then maybe going to the DCP part. So that I think helped me a lot. Number one, that's a good thing to always have, right? Because in interviews, you are often asked that how are you going to add value to your peers, right? Because it's a value-based system. You have to add value to be in that class, right? That is what professors are looking when you look at the first qualifying interview itself. So उसमें I was feeling vindicated. Okay, I'm actually able to add value. Where I was having some doubts that will I be able to. So I think that over time helped me ease into my role, become more confident, right? So that confidence I totally owe it to UPSC prep and all. Second thing is for the case interview prep, right? So I think giving that entirely new dimension, something that people might not think of. I think that is totally to UPSC, because there are things that you know, there are things that you only know, or maybe other aspirants who are competing for that. Although the number might be less, but since you stand out, right? Because the profiles that you find in typical consulting or case related interviews are more towards job profiles than a fresher, or maybe one with a gap, or even worst, one with a UPSC experience. So I think in that you stand out because you're uniquely different, right? So that uniqueness is what UPSC brings. And third is also while maybe solving case competitions, right? So again, very different pointers, able to structure your thoughts well, because I think UPSC, when you're writing answers, you are structuring your thoughts, you are under pressure that you have to do it in maybe 5-10 minutes only, right? So prepare all the pointers, don't miss out critical information. So treated that as a slide, as in on a slide what you're going to put is similar to what you're going to write in an answer. So same things you're going to translate, similar important pointers. So you try to prioritize, you try to use the 80-20 rule effectively in practice, because you have done it already. You just don't know it that you have used that rule. You are just using it now with the jargon and all. So that's the only difference. The jargon thing is what is getting added. But I think that skill is there. That skill is developed. If you have developed it well, I think it will help you translate into multiple things.
Definitely. I can to relate so hard to you when you said कि case prep में your knowledge about different streams helps so much. So anyone from Excel knows, like even Rutvik senior batch knows that how much he could guide in to anyone from any stream while they were preparing their case prep for McKinsey, BCG or Bain. So basically getting in a case from numerous fields, say finance, manufacturing, automotive, different fields, he used to always bring up insights that only a UPSC aspirant could. And I think that eventually helped him landing up his internship in Bain as well. Yeah, a great decision till the point that how you guys got into MBA and how you guys got your careers here. Looking back in hindsight, any tips or recommendations for people who are now in the UPSC prep, has been doing for some years and now are thinking like how would I face this? How would I go about it? Any tips and tricks for them?
First of all, it's quite challenging to make that decision, right? It requires a lot of mental fortitude, because there is always a fallacy of getting your efforts lost, right? Because you're putting a lot of efforts, lot of pain also, right? Lot of investment from maybe parents, right? So it's a very tough decision to let go, but I mean, it's a pragmatic decision also, given that in our time there are a lot of opportunities available, and I mean, it's good to give attempts, it's good to strive for a noble cause, but you have to be a bit pragmatic towards the end, as in somewhere you will need to let go. Either you see it through or you let go, ensuring that you have at least some chance of salvaging your career, right? I mean, as Mohini also rightly pointed out earlier, right, that if you give 6, 7 attempts, then if you don't crack it, then you are nowhere. Then you have very limited options. No one will be able to give you even an MBA degree, whoever you are, right? Whatever IIT, whatever, with a background. So it does not matter. So you should not go to that point. You should ensure that you should never become like that. You should have a pragmatic escape route ready. It's not like you start from the very first attempt that I want. If not, then I will do this. You should not be like that. Try to focus, give it 1 or 2 attempts wherever you think you can do based on your capabilities, finances, whatever, right? So till that, do UPSC, and after that, I think you should take a decision. But somewhere that pragmatic call should be coming, right? You should ask that question after every attempt. Should I do it or not? At least that is what I would recommend from my side. And that itself will give you the answer, right? So if that is the single piece of advice, it's like asking yourself questions. Do you want to do this or not? If answer is no, even if there is a slight bit of doubt, please try to look for something else or explore what else can be there. If you think that that thing is still not lucrative enough for you, continue with UPS, right? But that fallacy is quite dangerous. It's like an endless cycle. Just ensure that you're not getting trapped in it. So that would be my advice.
Mohini, yours.
I think this is the absolute right advice that I would also give. That just be pragmatic. Down the line, it might work and it might not work. So, what if it does not work? So, just be mindful of that and take your career decision accordingly.
Absolutely. So, which brings me down to the reason why I did this episode, very well pointed out by Moini before we started recording, is a lot of time people, when they are not able to clear UPSC, they are like, "Ki, I am ruined, I can't do anything." These two people are a living proof that there are a lot of options after a failed UPSC attempt, and you can still make it through, and you can have a very, very brilliant corporate career. And if you want to reach out to these two, I will put their LinkedIn and Rutik's Unstop link as well. He is among the top 4 Unstop mentors. So he happily guides another people, especially having a similar background. Great talking to you guys. Had great insights. Thank you guys so much.